Hello, Hag Sukkot Sameach. On this holiday of Sukkot, the Torah tells us, Vesamachta bechagecha, and you shall rejoice in your feast. You and your son and your daughter and your manservant and your maidservant and the Levite, the stranger and the orphan and the widow who are inside your gates. Samachta, you shall rejoice. How can you be commanded to rejoice? How can you command an emotion? We can be commanded to follow the rites and go through the motions, but what if we can't feel the inner joy we are commanded to feel? Let's turn to the Talmud for enlightenment. In Tractate Pesachim, it says, our rabbis taught, a man has the duty to make his children and his household rejoice on a festival. For it is said, and you shall rejoice in your feast. With what does he make them rejoice? Rabbi Yehuda said, men with what is suitable for them, and women with what is suitable for them. Men with what is suitable for them, with wine. And women with what? Rabbi Yosef said, in Babylonia, with colored clothes, and in Eretz Israel, with ironed, lined clothes. So, you rejoice with what makes you rejoice. It's different for every person. If you like wine, drink wine. If you like to wear fancy clothes, wear fancy clothes. This latitude is designed to make it easier for you to rejoice. Of course, there will be times when circumstances prevent you from rejoicing, but you must try. The Talmud realizes the difficulty by asking the question, with what does he make them rejoice? It is not obvious. Note that the Talmud goes beyond the Torah. The Torah merely says that you must rejoice. But the Talmud says that in addition to that, you must make others around you rejoice as well. It says, a man has the duty to make his children and his household rejoice. That extra duty may actually make it easier for you to rejoice. Sometimes the road to your own happiness passes through other people's happiness. Finally, the Torah clearly implies that you do not rejoice alone. You rejoice with, quote, your son and your daughter and your maidservant and your manservant and the Levite, the stranger, the orphan and the widow who are inside your gates. You rejoice with your entire community. Companionship is a key element of rejoicing. I note that the list does not mention your spouse, but let it pass. In spite of the flexibility of letting you rejoice with what is best for you, our sages had a saying, En simcha illa bebasar veyayin. There is no rejoicing except with meat and wine. This custom is deeply entrenched in our tradition, but fortunately it is only a custom. I am personally not a fan of meat or wine. I will have them on special days as custom requires, but I happen to rejoice mostly with fancy cheese and sparkling fruit juice, preferably apricots. But it has to be dark, concentrated, tart, and with very little sugar, or I won't like it. Anyway, so don't force yourself to eat meat or drink wine if you don't really enjoy them. And if they hurt you, there's no question that you should not have them. That's where pikuach nefesh comes in. Most commandments fall by the wayside to preserve life. Another key element of rejoicing is that it must be something that you not only like, but don't do very often. The Talmud says in Tractate Shabbat, the sons of Rav Papa ben Abba asked Rav Papa, we have meat and wine every day, so how shall we mark a change? He answered, if you're accustomed to dine early, postpone the meal. If you're accustomed to dine late, have the meal earlier. So, do something different for Shabbat and the holidays. There's another Talmudic principle when it comes to rejoicing. En me'arvin simcha besimcha. Do not mix rejoicing with rejoicing. That is, you should not enjoy two different things at the same time. The Talmud in Tractate Hagiga is more explicit. Rabbi Daniel ben Katzina said in the name of Rav, how do we derive that weddings may not take place during Chol HaMoed, the intermediate days of a festival? Because it is said in the Torah, and you shall rejoice in your feast, but not in your wife. Tractate Moed Katan elaborates. Rav Yehuda said, quoting Samuel, and Rabbi Elazar said, quoting Rabbi Oshaya, and some say Rabbi Elazar, quoting Rabbi Hanina. It's very important to attribute proper credit in our tradition. One rejoicing may not be mixed with another rejoicing. Rabbah, the son of Rabbi Huna, said, one may not marry on Chol HaMoed because the groom would abandon the rejoicing of the festival and busy himself with the rejoicing of his wife. Why is that a problem as long as he rejoices? Ulla said, because of the exertion required to rejoice with his wife. It prevents the groom from enjoying the festival. Rabbi Isaac ben Napaha said, because it may also cause a decline in marriage and parenthood. If people postpone their marriage until a festival, they may not marry at all. So Jewish law says that weddings may not take place on Pesach or Sukkot or Shabbat or other special times, because one is obligated to rejoice specifically because of the festival and not because of a new wife. The rabbis relented, however, when it came to Hanukkah, Rosh Chodesh, and Purim, and allowed weddings at those times, as they are more minor holidays. While we're on the subject, Judaism seems to be definitely against certain forms of mixing. We can't mix two different kinds of celebration. We can't mix milk and meat in our foods. We can't mix wool and linen in our clothing. We can't sow a field with two different kinds of seeds. We can't plow with two animals of different species. We can't mix the holy and the secular in our activities. And when we switch from holy to secular, we mark the switch with a Havdalah ceremony. Each activity must be experienced exclusively and not shared with another activity. It's probably a bad idea to eat a good meal while watching a movie on TV. Another reason is that if something goes wrong with one activity, it does not spoil another activity. In my experience, and in the same vein, it's also best to avoid two-track relationships. Your doctor should not be your friend. Your lawyer should not be a relative. Your significant other should not be your business partner. Your boss should not be your spiritual advisor. Your neighbor should not be your creditor. That's because when a problem develops with one track, you end up losing both tracks. If you fire your doctor because you don't think his advice is helpful, don't expect to keep him as a friend. And if you really like him as a doctor, but your friendship suffers because he ran off with your girlfriend, don't expect to keep him as a doctor either. But that's a subject for another discussion. So let's summarize. How can you rejoice on a holiday when you don't feel like rejoicing? Our sages gave us 6 ways. First, go through the motions required by the holiday. Second, think of something special you can get for yourself. Third, do something different. Fourth, surround yourself with family, friends, and community. Fifth, consider it your duty to make sure they rejoice. And sixth, try to focus on only one source of rejoicing at a time. Chag Sameach. Let us rejoice.